All right, the EIDL grant, a big update for Sunday about the SBA EIDL grant, that $10,000 check that you may or may not have received or gotten a different amount, what's going on. And the big update is that email that came last night, Saturday evening, to some of you, and the new details that we broke on LALATE, the website, not here on the channel, earlier today about that credit check that's going on, about your personal credit history, and is that impacting the delivery of your check? No one has talked about it. It was a bombshell exclusive that we broke online earlier today, and we're delivering it to you right now on the channel this afternoon. All right, so a lot of big details. We appreciate you staying with us all weekend long because a lot has changed. But let's recap what happened on Friday. On Friday, May 1st, a lot of you woke up and went and got alerts from your banking websites that you had received direct deposits of amounts in the $1,000 increments. Had a lot of numbers and a lot of letters, and then suddenly there was the three letters SBA in there. That is your SBA grant being delivered. Many of you didn't know what it was. It didn't say, EIDL grant in some of the language of the deposit receipt. It did say SBA, so you figure that out. And it was in increments of $1,000. So what went on? There was a big drop on Friday. That's what went on. It was a big drop for applications that were filed in mid-April that were processed and paid, and the funds were received in banks on May 1st, on Friday, May 1st. What were those amounts? Well, basically, if you had put 0 in your application, you were paid for 1 employee, and if you said anything from 1 to 9, you got $1,000 to $9,000, and if you said 10 or more, you got $10,000. It's as simple as that. And as I've said to you before, and I'll repeat here, yes, CARES Act, as passed by members of Congress, was to pay you $10,000. It wasn't to pay you this ration amount. SBA has digressed from that language of the federal act to ration it and base upon the number of employees you disclosed on the application guideline. Now, so that was Friday. We ran the story for you. We did the video for you on Saturday. And after we uploaded the video yesterday at about 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, bam, everything started happening. And we were dropping in the comments. We appreciate your comments. We were commenting with you till almost midnight last night. And this is what was happening. First, emails were being delivered. And again, this is what's consistent with this entire EIDL process. What's consistent is that nothing is consistent. Some of you were getting emails, some of you weren't. And this is for individuals who had received their payments on Friday. Some of you were getting emails on Saturday in the afternoon saying, hey, thank you for filing your EIDL grant. We're still working on it. Yes, it actually said we're still working on it, even though you had already received your payments. Some of you also dropped in comments that you received that email but hadn't received the payment. That's a good sign. Don't worry about that. That means your payment's on the way and that there's some delay in processing because some banks process direct deposits faster than other banks. But the end result is these emails that dropped on Saturday afternoon or evening after we uploaded the video were not consistent. They were sent to some businesses that got paid and wasn't sent to other businesses that were paid. They were sent to some businesses that have not yet been paid, and they were not sent to other businesses that have also not been paid. So again, there's no consistency. There's no consistency about the numbers. We were having a Twitter feud yesterday. We were having a discussion on the channel in the comments today about the sequentialness of the numbers, the confirmation numbers. Some of you were saying, one person was saying they're sequential. They are absolutely not sequential. There's no consistency about the consistency. It is a free-for-all. So let's go back to the payments, which is what you're critical about. When you're getting the payment, if you have not received the payment, our guidance, as we've indicated in the comments to all of you since late yesterday, is that if you have progressed more than 4 weeks since you filed your EIDL grant, contact SBA, call them up, and do what we did. The tip has generally worked, according to the comments, with the exception of one person. When you call them up, tell them it has been more than 4 weeks, and if it has, and you'll you'll get forwarded to an escalation department that will look and determine why it has been more than 4 weeks since you received payments. If you know that a credit check has been done, then raise that to them. That is good, because generally what they are saying to viewers of this channel is, if a credit check has been done, expect that means we are processing the grant and you'll receive payments within 3 to 5 business days. And as I've said to you, 3 to 5 business days, you throw 3 banking processing days to receive the payment after that. That is generally the window. So, a lot of questions that you have passed in the comments are along the following lines. You know the date that a credit check has been done, and you know the date you filed your application, but you've not received any word or any payment. My response to you is the following. If the credit check was done in the last 7 days, 4 days, sit back, don't do anything. Because the reason why is you need to count approximately 3 to 5 business days after the credit check for them to process the payment, and then you have to throw 3 business days potentially on top of that for your bank to process the direct deposit. Some banks literally do direct deposits within 24 hours. They're that fast. Some banks are incredibly slow. Now, with that calculation, if you are beyond that point and still have not received payment, pick up the phone, call SBA. Now, you can digress from this advice and call SBA at any time, and you can call them faster than that. But if you see a credit check that was done on Friday, you shouldn't have a high alert. That is just not, that means money is probably coming your way. But if you see a credit check that was done 2 weeks ago, that is cause of concern. Call SBA. Now, the big development, the big one that we were all sort of chatting about in the comments, and keep your comments coming. We respond to you within 4 hours or less, all throughout the day, 24 hours a day, was the credit check and the non-payment or delayed payment. And we wrote the story, and we're going to drop the story in the comments here and pin it to you. Earlier today, LALATE wrote the story, bombshell exclusive, that no one else has reported, that a series of you have told us in the comments that you have raised to SBA that a credit check was done on you personally, on your personal credit score, and that you have not received payment, and that in several cases the SBA person on the phone has said, well, your credit number fell below a certain level, and so the system automatically does not generate the payment as fast. A second face has to look at your application. That wording or that type of discussion has been repeated enough that we ran the story. And what did the story basically say? It said that when you applied for an EIDL grant, you're applying for a corporation. You are submitting an EIN for that corporation's request. The corporation may be a Dun & Bradstreet listed corporation. It may be in good standing. It may have always filed their tax returns, as one individual said in his comments. It may be completely up and perfect. But during that application process, a person has to sign the application. And that person, I think, if I recall, had to provide a social security number. It's at that point that SBA is running credit checks on the personal social security number of the applicants. And that apparently has triggered a whole realm of questions among you. Why are some of you that have had the credit check run not receive the payments, whereas others who did have the credit check run did receive the payments? Now, there are a few of you who have said there is no record of any credit check being done on you. Here is the consensus of the comments that have been heard from SBA by members of this channel, viewers of this channel, that if your personal FICO score was less than 660, that the grant would not be processed automatically by the system, that there was some sort of trigger, some sort of algorithm, that the EIDL grant process runs a credit check on the social security number of the applicant. If it falls before 660, it stops. If it doesn't, if it's above 660 or at 660, it issues the payment automatically within 3 to 5 business days. Bam, that's why y'all got it on May 1st. That is the allegation that's being repeated by members, by viewers, according to what they've heard from SBA. So what does that mean? It basically means that, according to the allegation, that when the credit check is done on your social security number, if it's falling below a level, then the payment is not going on automatically by the system. That it's then escalated to some sort of human review by some human individual. Again, and I'm going to qualify this and fully disclaim it, can't confirm this, but I can report that it's been repeated enough that it's now causing questions and concerns. The concern is that what's going to happen if you have, and I don't want you to disclose your FICO score, but if you have bad credit, but you did get your EIDL check, can you please drop it in the comments so that we can have some guidance about what's going on here? If you filled out the application for your business and submitted your business's EIN, but you personally have a very bad credit score, can you drop it in the comments that, yeah, you still got your check? Because if we go 24 hours on viewership of this video, and thank you for your viewership, it's exploding. You know, we've only 7 days into this channel, and I think it was 10,000 viewerships since last night, just on the videos of yesterday, which is incredible. It's all because of you. But if you could drop in the comments whether you got paid and yet still have a low credit score, that would be appreciated, because then we can understand if this is a great tendency or an anomaly or what is going on. But at the moment, we've heard it enough that we believe it is a tendency, that a low credit score might be causing the system not to shoot out the check automatically. Now the question is, what is low? And the question is, what happens next? And, you know, when we ran this video on Friday, which was when all these checks were being processed, we thought, okay, this story has run its course. Everyone's checks are going to come, and, you know, by Saturday we'll be done with the story. We'll be on to another story. No, now it's snowballed into a whole nother type of story. The story basically is, okay, are EIDL checks not being processed for businesses that were entitled to a $10,000 grant, not a loan, but a grant, by the CARES Act because of low credit scores of individual applicants? It is so horrific, and here comes my rant, it becomes so horrific if that's happening for the following reason. The applicant is just the applicant. That's the reason. You could have had the secretary of the corporation do the application. You could have the president of the corporation do the application. You could have had the treasurer. You could have anyone that was qualified under the corporate structure to do the application. And yet one could have had a very bad credit score and another one could have had a great credit score, but nowhere in this process would any business have known that it should not have had the secretary do the credit score because he has a bad credit, do the application because he has a bad credit score, but should have had the treasurer do it because he has a great credit score. I mean, no one knew this. This goes up with no one knowing the disclosure of the number of employees. That, you know, if you said 8, but you forgot to leave yourself off, and that would have been 9, you lost $1,000 out of the gig. It's just a mess. It really, really is a mess. Yesterday's EIDL grant video, I think, was 15 minutes long. It was 15 minutes long because there was so much going on. And here we are on a Sunday, which I thought was going to sort of taper off. I thought, you know, after Friday, which is y'all got your checks, and Saturday I'm giving you guidance about when the rest of you should get your checks based upon Friday's events. Saturday came those bizarre emails that some of you got and some of you didn't get. Some of you got it if you had gotten a payment. Some of you didn't get it, but still got a payment. And then there's some of you who haven't gotten a payment, but got the letter. Now, if you got the letter, I mean, that's a good thing. The end result is the following. Where's my advice for escalated concern? That has really not changed through this first week of debuting this channel. My level of concern for you is if more than 4 weeks has passed since the application was filed and you have heard nothing, meaning you have called SBA and they said, we don't know anything, or you have just not called anyone and you haven't heard anything, I want you to call SBA. If 4 weeks has passed and nothing has happened, call SBA. The next thing I'm concerned about is those of you who see a credit check, and the credit check is more than, I'll say about 7 days. I want you to call SBA. That is the next group of people that I'm concerned about, because we know that guidance I just told you is about 3 to 5 business days after the credit check is done, and then 3 days for the bank. These are all business days, 3 days for the bank to process the payment. It's that group that I'm worried about next. It's you if you see the credit check done and yet you don't see the payment. What a mess. I mean, it is disconcerting. And when we think that we all understand this process, it just gets so much more strange. Here's some loose ends I want to tie up. First of all, some of you keep on jumping the comments about the EIDL loan. Please don't confuse these people in this video of these comments. This video is about the EIDL grant. It is not about the EIDL loan. Second, there is no EIDL loan new applications being processed, and there's no EIDL grant new applications being processed. So don't jump in here and get that confused. As reported before to you, you can't change your EIDL application from 5 to 9 employees. That ship has sailed. If you've got one check, you can't get another check now. It is sailed. This was a program that launched and was closed very quickly. It was one of those things got almost no news coverage. I mean, here's the honest truth from our standpoint. We only heard about it because we were doing an IG chat with one of our Twitter followers one evening to talk about PPP, the PPP loan, and that follower brought up the EIDL grant. We said, EIDL grant? We haven't heard about it. And it was just about the time around April 1st. And that's the last group I'm worried about. If you applied around April 1st or earlier and you have no news, call SBA. But if you applied and you did not click that, let me back up. And if you applied around March 29th, and at the time you applied, there was no button asking for $10,000, I want you to call SBA, but I want to tell you what I think is the bad news now. As I've told you before, because I tell you the good and I tell you the bad. The application changed. The day of which it changed is not particularly clear. We originally said the 30th. Some people say it's the 29th, but the application changed. You had to reapply under the new application when it went live the next day and ran all the way to about April 16th. If you didn't, you're screwed. I'm sorry, but you're screwed. But if you aren't sure which version of the application you clicked on and you were around the 28th of March to April 1st or 2nd and you've heard nothing, pick up the phone and call SBA. A lot of stuff today. Of all the videos yesterday, this one had the most comments, and I appreciate them, and the other viewers that are watching with you appreciate you as well. Whatever information you can share, whether it's good or bad, it's helping everyone else. You know why? Because this is the only channel that's out there that is sort of creating a community for us to all help each other and impart and share what's going on with one another. And so I see it's wonderful how one person says, oh, I did this and I did that. And the other person says, oh, I did the same thing, but this happened to me. It's wonderful because there's no other place where this is happening on the on other channels or on websites. It's just not happening. The SBA is not answering the phone is not giving consistent answers to people on the phone. So this is the really only place where businesses who applied for this needy grant at a time of a pandemic are getting their answers answered. We're in your comments. We're responding within 4 hours, but the rest of you are also dropping comments that are helping one another. Remember, subscribe and like. Subscribe and like. When you see a video like this, if it's of value to you, if it helped you, like and then subscribe. It helps what's called the algorithm with the channels. And when you do that, it helps us be found by more businesses that are dealing with the same sort of issues that you're dealing with. What a week it's been. It's our first week. We launched on Friday of last week, and boy, the growth has been incredible because of you. We're doing 4 videos today. What a week it's been. Today we're doing EIDL grant, PUA, second stimulus check, and another surprise video. So there's a lot of great stuff we're delivering for you today. As always, subscribe and like. Drop us comments and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And as always, stay with LALATE for more.